first station, Jesus is condemned to death. Do not judge, he once said, so that you may not be judged yourselves. And now he stands, judged by a cynic who can even make jokes about truth. Truth? What is that? Truth himself is condemned. Forgive us our sins against truth. When we sacrifice the truth to convenience or to popular opinion or to thin politeness. Forgive too our cynical abuse of the truth when we manipulate it to hurt or to crush for our own false purposes. I was only telling the truth. Is such a falseness of spirit. Perhaps Pilate spoke deeper than he realized. Truth? What is that? And all this too, by his death, can be redeemed. The second station, Jesus receives the cross. They've done it so often before, these gods, tying on a block of cheap wood, which will cut and maim on the way. They probably don't give a second thought to what it is they're doing. He said once, "Come to me, all you who are heavily burdened, and I will give you rest." Well, now he is heavily burdened, and with no hope of rest until the end. Forgive us our sins of willfully burdening others without a second thought. Forgive us our sins of willfully burdening ourselves with our past or fear of the future, with no hope of rest for others or ourselves. And all this too, by his death, can be redeemed. The third station, Jesus falls the first time. Yes, he's fallen. They always do, no matter how strong they are. It's quite predictable, really. They can't see their own feet, you see. The hands are tied up, and they can't balance properly. Quite a laugh, really. You can see it coming with all of them. He once knew a woman who had fallen, and they dragged her to him, feeling superior and self-righteous. But he wouldn't let them stone her. He lifted her up. Forgive our sins against those who fall, when we take superior delight and satisfaction in the predicted fall of someone else. And all this too, by his death, can be redeemed. The fourth station, Jesus meets his mother. He told her once when he was very young, "I must be about my Father's business." And it would have been so easy to tie him to her apron strings and ease him away from such nonsense, such strange attitudes. to raise him to be the sort of son she thought he should be, to live the sort of life she thought he should live. But she didn't. She let him grow to maturity in the Father. And this is how it ends. Forgive us when we cling unhealthily to family or to friends, demanding they echo our lives, demanding they fulfill our needs, demanding that they be like us. Because then we stifle their own divine uniqueness and maim our own. And all this too, by his death, can be redeemed. The fifth station. Simon of Cyrene is forced to carry the cross. No, you've made a mistake. I'm a respectable man. I've made my way up in the world. I haven't dirtied my hands with manual labour in years. I've given both my sons a good classical education, the best money could buy. They're gentlemen. I couldn't possibly help that religious maniac. Not here, not in public, not in front of the whole city. My clients, my business contacts, oh, the shame of it. He said once that ordinary, unheroic acts of goodness, even giving a cup of water, could be extraordinarily significant. Forgive us when we grow small and are reluctant and slow to do simple good, because we count and exaggerate the cost to our image, to our time, or our commitment. And all this too, by his death, can be redeemed. The sixth station. Veronica wipes the face of Jesus. Typical of the Romans, the very day before the biggest festival of the year, when the city's bursting at the seams with people, and we're all up to our eyes in preparing for the Passover, and they decide to beat another poor soul up the street towards his death. Look at the crowds enjoying it all. They're as bad as the Romans themselves. I'll never get through this crush to the other side of the street, not without dropping this pile of clean napkins I've spent all morning washing and ironing. Oh, hang on, here's a gap. He told a story once about a busy man on a journey, helping someone out on the road. Forgive us when we let the busyness of our lives and the distraction of things to be done prevent us from recognizing and serving you. And all this too, by his death, can be redeemed. The seventh station. Jesus falls the second time. He's fallen again, poor bloke. Looks done in. And that old fella's supposed to be helping him. He's neither use nor ornament. Wonder if he could do with a helping hand. Mind you, these Romans can be vicious, especially when they're carrying whips. They might not really appreciate me sticking my nose in. And, well, The old fellow looks quite strong for his age, really. And perhaps I shouldn't get involved. There's no telling what might come of it. Poor bloke. He once asked a rich young man to be one of his followers. Forgive us when we sit on the fence, when we stifle the opportunity to do your work. Forgive us when we're timid and paralysed with the fear of doing what you obviously want. And all this too, by his death, can be redeemed. The 8th station. Jesus is mourned by the women of Jerusalem. It seemed like such a good idea at the time, all those years ago. It will be a real act of charity, I said to them, to get a group of the girls as volunteers to stand in the crowd and show the condemned criminals that some people cared, that not everyone in the city was glad to see them die. But we've been doing it so often and for so long. It seems now like just an empty gesture. And some of the other women are really getting on each other's nerves and on mine. Sometimes I feel like giving up the whole thing. Ah, well, here he comes. He wept once at the death of his friend Lazarus, when all had lost heart. Even so, he brought hope. Forgive us when the years dim the early vision. Forgive us when we lose heart for serving you in others. And all this too, by his death, can be redeemed. The 9th station. Jesus falls the 3rd time. Good grief, he's fallen again. Even with that complaining little jumped-up merchant carrying off the weight for him. No stamina, these Jew boys. No wonder we won't let them into our army. They'd probably run a mile from the risk of having some of their blood spilt. Still, he shouldn't last very long. And that means we'll get off duty early. And I can always hurry things along a bit with my spear. Oh no, he's got up again. He's got more spirit in him than I thought. They asked him once, how many times should we forgive one another? Forgive us when we put a limit to forgiveness when others fall again and hurt us yet again. Forgive us when we feel we've already made every allowance and there's just no point in hoping for improvement in others or ourselves. And all this too, by his death, can be redeemed. The 10th station. Jesus is stripped. And here comes the next customer. About time too. Hope the lads haven't been too rough with him. Hard to get out those blood stains. Hope his clothes are worth a bit more than the rags we got off the other two. I wouldn't use them to wipe the floor with. It's not much of a perk, but every penny helps. Right, my lad, let's get these clothes off you. Don't be shy. We're all fellas here. No need to be bashful. Good grief, he's actually blushing. And at this stage of the game, damn, there's blood on the collar. He caused trouble once in the temple because the traders treated people as things to take advantage of, as objects to squeeze money out of. Forgive us when we dehumanize people and treat them as objects and things. Forgive us for pretending and disguising our real selves from others and from you. Forgive our shame in not coming before you in our nakedness. And all this too, by his death, can be redeemed. The 11th station. Jesus is nailed to the cross. I am iron. I have been delved and dug. I have been smelted and melted, forged and hammered. I am hard and dark and cold and sharp. And I will pierce and pin him immovable. There is nothing personal. It's how I have been treated and made by man. I can do no other. It's just how I am. He once spoke of a softening of hard hearts. Forgive us when we refuse to soften what our lives or others have made hard. Forgive us when we shrug and accept with complacency the flaws which seem part of us, which obscure our true selves. And all this too, by his death, can be redeemed. The 12th station, Jesus dies on the cross. 70 beats in every minute. I have been pumping now for over 30 years, keeping him alive, moving the blood, perfusing the brain and nourishing the limbs, keeping him healthy, giving him strength, supporting his sorrow and elevating his joy. And now I grow weak, fluttering and faltering. The warm blood grows sluggish and slows and cools. I was not made to cease, but time now for rest. He once said, the dead little girl only slept. Forgive us when we fear death where you have been. Forgive us when we are seized by nameless terrors, for you have been there too. And all this too, by his death, can be redeemed. The 13th station. Jesus is taken from the cross. How different he looks now he's dead. And the laughing, flashing eyes are closed. And how heavy and awkward he looks in her arms. How can I care for her? How can I earn for her? When there seems no point in living. Now the whole point of my living has died. He once said that those who mourn are very close to God. Forgive us in the desolation of grief, when all hope and joy seems dead forever. Forgive us when we fear that death is the end. And all this too, by his death, can be redeemed. The 14th station. Jesus is laid in the tomb. Come to me, my Lord, for I am dark and cool, and rest your weary body. Many have been laid here before in my coolness, and many more will in time to come. For I am the final home of you all, the cool place of oblivion, where you all consign faded hopes, broken loves, and wasted lives. Rest now in my coolness. For when you rise, no grave ever will be cold again, but left warm with the promise of life, when all things shall be made well. He once said, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. Forgive us when we entomb ourselves in a living death. Forgive us when we do not live in the hope of resurrection. And all this too, by his death, can be redeemed. Christ, the light of the world, is extinguished.